He almost didn't have the mic on. You damn right. Now I've got the mic. That was close. Oh, that was close. I think I've got it all set up. When you're by yourself, you got to make sure to do that. Catch did that the other day with you guys. Just make, if the mic's not working, let me know. I think I got it. No catch today on House Divided. I'm sorry to report. It is another one of those administrative days for catch. So I'm all alone. It's like I'm in solitary, rocking the harmonica. The co-host left me alone. But after all, he's the boss. That kind of thing. But I'm not alone because we've got the Specs chat here on House Divided. By the way, just to shake things up a little bit today, just a little bit. Maybe we go like that on the logo. Texas Card House kind of getting washed out a little at the top. We'll try this for a little bit. By the way, shout out to you, ATX Baits, for those beautiful lures right above the Texas Card House logo. And the House Divided logo moves over to Navy and Notre Dame. Wrong team favored. I'm taking Navy plus those points. Preview for the Outsiders tonight. I don't know why anybody isn't respecting Navy enough. At home, plus 12? Anyway, so we're going to do that. We also have all of you piling into the chat, and I do appreciate you. And South KMX, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because if not, I'm in big, big trouble today. Okay, and Sandman, no, that's not it. It's not the daddy doesn't love you. It's not the daddy doesn't love. I feel like that other parent, when there's a traveling parent. No, they're going out there to make the money and get things figured out. There's some stuff to do. There's sponsorships to talk about and all that kind of good stuff. But I definitely have a lot to get into today. We're going to start with some recruiting. Then we're going to talk about some truth. Then we're going to talk tiebreakers. Oh, I've got the SEC tiebreakers ready for you, Texas fans. And I've got a clear path for you about who to root for in College Station and then how you can get to Atlanta. It's a pretty clear path as far as I can tell. If I'm reading it correctly, we'll go through all of that together. I've got a special edition of Buy or Sell for you, a community buy or sell. We'll do it together. We'll sing Kumbaya. It is, after all, House Divided, right? Can't we all just get along? 38 days till that game kicks in College Station. 38 days from now, both teams sit at 6-1. Not everybody might have thought that. One of the teams is undefeated in conference, but maybe not the one people expected. And I predicted Texas would win 10 and A&M would win 9 in the regular season. And both of those feel pretty damn realistic at this point. The Aggies have kind of one game of possible slippage in there if they need it. They're going to get 7 with an easy one. They got to find 2 more out of the other 4. And for Texas, obviously now there's 1 slip left if they're going to get to 10, and then you have to win the other games. So as we get ready for all that, we will, like I said, we'll start with some recruiting. Also today, if you want, could be a good day for this right here. Sugar Poppy knew it. Good day for a super chat. $2. Where is the bald maestro? Yeah, again, it's administrative day. Taking a boss day. And trust me when I tell you this. I've known Jeff Ketchum since 2008. I had talked to him before that point. We knew each other as like a guest and host in radio. And I knew he was, one of the best, if not the best insider guy out there at the time. We just hadn't met face to face until March of 2008. And from that day until now, I can tell you one thing for sure. When Jeff Ketchum takes time off, he doesn't. There's never been more of a need for air quotes than when you talk about Jeff Ketchum and vacation or time off. He does not do it readily. He doesn't do it easily. He doesn't. The man went to Jamaica on his honeymoon, but worked. He went to Jamaica during the NFL draft, and there's no way he wasn't working during that time because it's just him, because I know him that well. So trust me, he's working. He's working for y'all. He's working for me. He's working for the Orange Bloods community today, and we will do what we can in his absence. But it would be nice to see some super chats. I can be Oliver Twist today if y'all need. Please, sir, can I have more? A farthing, 6pence. Is it 6pence? A pound? A shilling? Please. That'd be cool if you want to throw something in the tip jar, or just sit back and have a good time, and we'll get into some of this. Folks are piling into the Specs chat right now. Let's go ahead and give Specs love. Let's show you Lisa and the Rabbit early on. Remember to get to Specs and get stocked up. Texas Vandy, it's a road game, so a lot of you are probably hitting a watch party. You may need something to get stocked up.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Yeah, buddy. Also, if you're a root beer freak like me and Catch, gourmet root beers are available at Specs too. Just go check them out, especially in the warm section, if you will. You got the beer in the cold section. Then there's other beer off to the side. Don't forget that other beer. My dad and I always make sure we cruise by the other beer. But there's also root beer around there. You know, pick you up like a little Virgil's, maybe. I'm going to have it. Maybe they've got a Beta root beer in stock, the greatest bottled root beer on the face of this earth, in my opinion. If you haven't had a Beta root beer, try it out. You'll thank me later. Get it for your kids. Get it for your kids. If you're trying to train the kids up on drinking out of a bottle, first off, don't say that too loud that way, but you know what I mean? It can be good. It's incredible root beer. All right. Yeah. And you know what, South KMX? It's tough. It's going to feel like that today because there's a lot of predicates that y'all don't normally hear. Going to hear them today. Let's start with some recruiting today. And I think Longhorn fans, you are going to be interested in this one. I know you're always interested in the 321 article. If you're not on orangebloods.com, get signed up today and check out the 321 article from Jason Sukamel each and every week. 3 things we learned. What is it? 3 things we learned. There's 2 other items. There's a prediction at the end is the one. And I saw a quote in there today, and I decided we're gonna make that the structure and framework of this show, especially since we're called House Divided. So the comment was from Kelshawn Johnson. For those of you that don't know, as part of this huge crew of people that came in, there were recruits rappelling off the stadium last weekend. There might have been a recruit going like jetpack guy into the stadium. There were so many of them. It was right around 70. One of them was Kelshawn Johnson, the receiver from Hitchcock and current Texas A&M commit. And when I saw this quote from Jason, I jotted it down and I thought, that's interesting. Quote, if anything ever happened at A&M, Texas would be the place to go. And if you're a Texas fan right now, you are right in the middle of this flip energy that's going your way. You don't want to be on Florida's side of that right now. You don't want to be on Florida State's side of that right now. But you, as Texas fans, are taking advantage of that, right? Myron Charles has already flipped to you. You got to say, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's going to, right? You've got a guy like Javion Hilson who hasn't officially flipped yet, but we'll call that a slow flip or you're waiting for it. He has decommitted already from Florida State. And then earlier this week, just to finish out the Florida idea, you had a young man named Joseph Mbachu that we've talked about, also a badass D-end, and by the rankings, and y'all know I'm not a rankings and recruiting expert, but ranked about the same level as Myron Charles for what I can tell. A 4-star, badass 4-star D-end. Not elite of elite, maybe not super blue chip like Ketch talks about, but up there, right? Pretty highly rated. And Mbachu opens up his commitment earlier this week. I'm recording this on Wednesday. It was on Monday. He opens the commitment. He was a Florida guy. So now he's opened it up. Okay, so now back to Kelshawn Johnson. Kelshawn visits Austin, and this is where a lot of us old folks, I'm walking up on 50. Trust me, and it's walking, not running. But for us older folks, we look back, and sometimes in the rivalries, you'd say, well, if the kid's committed to this side of the rivalry, he won't visit this side of the rivalry. He won't even consider it, and if he does, that's trouble. It's not really the way it is anymore. But with Kelshawn, we talked about this for weeks on the recruiting show and other shows about, is he going to come to Austin? And he ends up making that trip and coming in. So he comes in, he enjoys his time. There's some good quotes in there. Go check out the 321 from Jason. He talks about the game itself. A lot of these recruits watch that game. And you know what was interesting, Texas fans? We always talk about the game result might not matter. But here's what I think would have mattered. If Georgia just blasts Texas out of that game. That has to matter, right? Because the week before, the recruits talked about how impressive Texas looked beating OU like that. By the end of that day, it was just done. And Texas could beat them by, even worse if they start a little better. But this game, it was the fight that they pointed out. Kelshawn Johnson has some comments. You can go read them on orangebloods.com in that 321 article. But he talks about the fight Texas put up and then they came back, and that he talked to Coach Jackson about receiving and how he would be used and all that stuff. So the ultimate question for you Texas fans would be just, on its face, Ketch likes to use the taking their cornbread thing from life, whether it's about Oklahoma and A&M. If you're a Texas fan, that's extra cool in recruiting, right? If you can win a battle, not just any battle, could you win a battle between you and OU? Can you win a battle between you and A&M? And in this case, can you flip a guy from A&M to you? Remember last year, wasn't it Colton Vasek, I believe? That was an OU to Texas flip. And the ultimate one you want right now, if you're a Texas fan, we all know his name. Say it with me. Michael Fasusi. You want the big dog O lineman that's agreed to go to OU. You want him to come to Austin. That one you take every day of the week. But to Kelshawn Johnson, I'm not just asking this question because of my allegiance, although y'all may think it, but let's walk through this. If you're a Texas fan, do you absolutely want Kelshawn Johnson? Do you want him to want you? Think about the receiving situation. You got French, you got Lockett, and now you got Hutchinson, who just Hutchinson? That's not the right name, is it? Hang on. Do I have that right? Hold on. I just made myself stop. What's the kid's name? Y'all know his name. You're going to put it in the chat. I messed it up. It's not Hutchinson. It's Dalen. Anyway, I can't think of his name. But the guy that just flipped, another Florida flip, right? That just flipped. There's 3 of them. Do you want Kelshawn Johnson to be that 4th? Or are you still looking at a couple other options? If you got Kelshawn Johnson, how does that affect Michael Terry, the guy out of Alamo Heights? Not a true receiver in the every sense of the word, because you may use him as more of a flexy tight end kind of guy. Or obviously, do you still want to hold out hope for DeCorian Moore? See, that's the other question. Do you still want to hold out the hope for DeCorian Moore that you get him? McCutcheon. That's what I was trying to think of. Dalen McCutcheon. Thank you. Well done. Well done, Sam. Thank you. McCutcheon. Yes. Dalen McCutcheon is the guy that flipped. So you got McCutcheon, you got Lockett, and you've got French. If you got Kelshawn Johnson, would that scare DeCorian Moore away if he had any thought of coming back? Or not coming back. He thought of flipping from Oregon for DeCorian. Or do you have to kind of leave that spot open for Michael Terry? I don't know. So let me know. And now JD Hack jumps in. This really should, JD, this is a good Texas mindset. I think this is the way to think about it. We want them all. Chadwick, the ones that don't work out can transfer. there you go. Yes, that may be it. So just keep that in mind. And yes, you're right, Pat. My bad. I said Florida. Florida State. It's hard to keep it straight, whether it's the Gators or the Seminoles that are imploding and recruiting. You're right. That one was a Florida State flip for Dalen McCutcheon. All right, so you got all that, I think, laid out in front of you. And how about this? Another little note from the 321 and Jason. Not only was Kelshawn Johnson in town for the big old weekend, but if I'm reading it correctly, I believe it stated that he wants to visit Fayetteville when the Longhorns are there, but he also wants to come back to Austin one more time. So I was thinking, as I'm reading the sentence, I thought, okay, and Jason's going to tell me that at the end of it, where's Kelshawn Johnson going to be? College Station, right? He's going to go to that game. He's going to go to November 30th. A lot of kids, we talked about yesterday, Javion Hilson says he's going to be at that game. Texas is one of his that he's in consideration for. Could A&M work their way in? And we talked about those Florida schools yesterday for Hilson, D-end in this class. And then you got signing day the next Wednesday. So that I still would assume Kelshawn Johnson ends up at that weekend. But the fact that he says he may come back to Austin again, so that's either Florida or Kentucky game for Texas, that's interesting. Longhorn fans, just keep an eye on it. It is truly a new era when it comes to House Divided type of stuff, because I think we are going to see at that game. I mean, just imagine the picture. 38 days away as we're recording. What if the game is for stuff on both sides? Is it a loser is out of Atlanta, winners in? Is it loser, depending on the loser, could be out of a playoff discussion? Is all that on the line? And then how many recruits do you have in the house that are committed to one or the other, or that are considering one or the other, or considering both, or both? Like, how many guys are going to be playing that type of shell game in their mind as they are watching? And presumably, in the case of a Hilson, in the case of Kelshawn Johnson, I've seen the show in Austin. I'm going to watch the show in College Station if I haven't seen it. And then maybe that's how I'm making my choice. It's going to be wild. And I am so excited that these two teams are actually pretty good. This week, we get to find out how good A&M looks against LSU. I got a little bit on that coming up. Because, again, if you're a Texas fan, I think there may be, try to figure out kind of how to look at that game. Also, this came in, not a super chat, but I do like it. And I remember super chats will go right to the top. Thank you if you want to throw something in the tip jar. Thanks to almost 400 of you in that Specs chat. We do appreciate you. Text guy says, Chad, any practice updates? Any clue about which quarterback is getting the most snaps with the ones? Text guy, I have not seen anything yet or read anything yet. I would definitely tell you, I would direct you towards that war room tomorrow night. I'm recording this on Wednesday, so Thursday nights is always war room night at orangebloods.com. And remember, Thursday, tonight, as I'm recording on a Wednesday, tonight is the first injury report. Not that the quarterback thing would be injury report, but just to put it in your head. And then, remember, you get the Sark deal on Thursday, the Sark media event on Thursday that kind of caused the first bit of weirdness last week when he wouldn't answer the quarterback question. That's a Thursday. And then so by Thursday night, I think you're going to have something maybe in the war room. So double check. Specifically, Anwar's reporting on what he might be hearing has been pretty damn accurate on these quarterbacks. So pay attention for that. But I have not heard anything at the moment that we are recording here. So let's see if we want. Yeah. Okay. So if you want to throw in some chats, please do it. If you want to get a super chat in, we can certainly squeeze that in. Also, thanks to a lot of our great partners. Let me start with AV Consultations today, 255-8678. It's a weekend where if you're not going to Nashville, you're at home, probably with a watch party. Now, I've got a watch party option for you a little bit later on if you want to come out and, watch the game with me and the Orange Bloods crowd. That's different. But hey, if you're home and you're the place to be in the neighborhood, ask yourself that question. Do you really have the setup you want? Do you really have the screen you want? Do you need another screen? Do you need some bat? Did you have a friend just out Whataburger you when it came to TVs? That happens, right? It happens. Let's call him Lenny. I don't have a Lenny in my life. I should, though. Let's say Lenny's your guy, right? Lenny moved into the neighborhood. You got to know Lenny. You realize Lenny's a Longhorn fan like you. And oh, that's cool. We're going to get down to Lenny's house. Lenny's house. Yeah, honey, make that famous 7-layer dip. We're going to Lenny's house. And you get there, and he's got a setup that you didn't even think about. Oh, my God, he's got 4 screens in one here, and there's a TV in his bathroom and the mirror. And then there's that. And he says he can project something outside onto the house. What is going on? If you have that in your life, or if you just know that you could be better, want something a little more, maybe it's a Christmas present idea you want to float to the wife and kids, 255-8678. That's your number. And the website is avconsultations.com as we get ready for the stretch run. Check them out. AV Consultations, one of our great partners around here. If you want to jump in the chat, feel free. And I'm just looking for... just double checking for super chats. I don't see any super chats right now. Now look at this. See, this is nice. Look at Brad. Chad minds the chat. He cares. I try, Brad. I try. And it's a show where it's just me, so might not see every single thing. But hey, give me the opportunity and we will do it. Love this comment from A. Mars. Don't know who babbles more, Chad or Anwar. You're comparing two people, in this case, that are doing a show by themselves. I'm not exactly sure what you want us to do outside of that, but whatever you want to do. Again, no Jeff Ketchum today. Hopefully he catches back tomorrow as we get ready for the Vanderbilt game. All right. Let's see. I don't see. Hey, you know what? ZOV, just in case you wondered, by the way, Chad, the Yankees are in the World Series. Don't be rooting for them Dodgers now. Too late. Too late. Dodgers is who I'm rooting for. I do not. There might be, how do I say this? There's one particular situation. Actually, it can't even exist anymore. There's no longer a situation where never mind. There's no one the Yankees can play in the World Series that I would root for the Yankees. Nobody. There's not one. There's a certain team in the American League that if they face the Yankees in the ALCS, I just watch with my arms folded as a pissy Rangers fan, but that's a whole nother discussion. Just a whole nother discussion. Okay, rolling through here. Interesting question. This is a deep level question. Will the Card House be showing UFC before the Texas game? You know what, Den? I have no idea. No idea. But I'll ask that question. I will ask that question for you. All right. So we hit a little bit of the recruiting stuff. And in terms of this week, I wonder about, I've been wondering, I guess, about the game in College Station and what you might want to do if you're a Texas fan. So let me just throw this up real quick. I don't think it's a long discussion because I don't think we need to deal with all of this yet. Just look at the first two. That's it. It is head-to-head, if you played, obviously, and then record versus common conference opponents. That, to me, is all we really have to deal with. The rest of that, you can get to later. But that's what you're dealing with here. So in the case of these teams, here are the teams that have no losses in conference or one. LSU and A&M have none. We know that. Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and, of course, Texas. I mean, other than Texas, those are the other six. So, and by the way, nice little stat. The last time every team in the SEC had one loss total, at least one loss, before we got to November was 2007. And you've added Texas and OU. That's crazy. All right. So, as you go through this math, I think it's pretty simple. To get Vanderbilt another conference loss, Texas plays them this week. Missouri, their next games are at Bama, OU, at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas. Do you think they're getting through all that without a loss? I'll wait. Neither do I. So there's got to be another loss there, right? Has to be. If Texas ended up in a tiebreaker situation with Missouri, they'd have to walk their way through it. We could get to that later. Georgia and Tennessee play each other at some point. Georgia plays Florida. They're at Ole Miss. They play Tennessee. Tennessee plays Kentucky, Mississippi State. They're at Georgia. They're at Vandy. Even if we're assuming no other losses, one of those teams has to eat a loss to the other one. And then you got LSU and A&M. Here's my argument, and we'll get to it in buy or sell what y'all think later, Texas fans. This is my argument from the numbers on who you should root for in College Station. I would tell you to root for the team you're going to play. And again, root is maybe a strong word. I'm not saying you have to actively root for the Aggies during the game. But in terms of the end of it, I think A&M winning would help you to get a simpler path. And here's how. That's the team you play. So you can control giving A&M a conference loss. In this discussion, we're going to assume Texas wins the game in College Station because that's what you'd be doing here as a Texas fan. You've suffered the one loss. You know you can't have another one. So you're going to give A&M a loss. And then if you obviously then you win the head-to-head, even if that was A&M's only conference loss. With LSU, the key to that would be the second little tiebreaker I flashed up. What does this second tiebreaker say? Record versus common conference opponents. Don't worry. I looked it up for Texas and LSU. Here are the common opponents. Arkansas, A&M, Florida, Vandy, OU. LSU's already beaten Arkansas. Texas has already beaten OU. Every other game is still yet to be played. So the easiest path that I can see is if A&M gives LSU that first conference loss, well, guess what? When it gets to the end, if they win everything else, if Texas and LSU win every other game they play, well, then it's simple. You, Texas, would get in on that tiebreaker because you're 5-0 against the rest of that group. and LSU would be 4-1 because they lost in College Station. So then it only comes down to that Georgia-Tennessee game. Then you just play the winner. If everything else stayed the same and everybody won all the other games, that to me is your quickest path in without having to think about all kinds of weird stuff. A&M beats LSU, you win out, and then you'll play the winner of Georgia-Tennessee. And if that's how it plays out, the fact that you beat Georgia, that Georgia beat you, it will only matter in the seeding of the game. It'll just be that in the championship game, Georgia gets to wear, their home unis or whatever. They're the 1 seed in that game versus the 2. That's it. But you wouldn't lose a tiebreaker against them that would kick you out of Atlanta. That's how I think about it. We'll get to how y'all think about it maybe in a little bit. But that's how I would lay it out for you at this point. We'll get to your thoughts and see how how y'all might think of it. Okay, let's see if we got any super chats. I don't see them right now. Okay, we'll just scan. That's all right. That's good. Okay, so that's how I'm looking at it. You can tell me here in a little bit. I'll throw some buy or sell up for you, and you can tell me how you are looking at it. I also wanted to get to, this is a weird question out of nowhere, C. Jones. Chad, how do you motivate an emotionless, no-fire quarterback? It's an interesting question. Is that what you think you have? It's weird, isn't it, how when your quarterback is mild-mannered, when your quarterback doesn't flip out all the time, if he does, you want to control that. But when he doesn't and he doesn't play well, we all get into that. I don't like his reaction. I hate his body language. I hate his facial reaction on the sideline. Trust me, I know this really well from the Tony Romo days with the Cowboys. Romo is one of the classic mopers of all time. He's a flat-faced moper. Every time something would go wrong, they'd get him on the sideline. He would just mope. He appeared to be moping to me. And I would bitch and moan about it all the time. Was I right? I'm not sure. It just looked that way. So Texas fans, maybe expand on what C. Jones is talking about here. Is that what you're seeing with Quinn Ewers? You look at him as an emotionless, no-fire quarterback? Because there have been plenty of reports that he's dealing with his issues pretty well and that he's working through stuff and he's staying even keel and he's not flipping out. And he is talking to teammates on the sideline and all that. So I don't know. That was interesting. That just kind of jumped out to me. And there's another one coming in. By the way, Tex Blonde, good to see you. As real as you've ever been today, I'm sure. Just no fire. Yeah. Right. Kenny throwing in this one. Kenny, I've heard this theory plenty for over the years. Catch always threw out the OU version. Nothing good ever comes from rooting for OU or A&M. Sorry, Chad. Yeah, Kenny, I can understand. Trust me, I will not feel slighted by that in any way. Yeah, I would absolutely understand that. Also, Kenny throws in Georgia would then get the tiebreaker over A&M for the record versus head-to-head opponents. Great question, Kenny. I haven't gone through all that. I haven't done – I did one of these just to kind of give a path because I thought, okay, that's how it would do it. Honestly, I don't know. I have not looked at that. Georgia and A&M or, whoever, all those common opponents. So I haven't done that for other pairs like I did for Texas and LSU. I will do it as we go along, but just to, I just want to say, text guy. Oh no, this is where Chad tries to convince us that we should root for A&M. No, not convince you of it. Just kind of give you that logical point of view or the logic of the numbers, at least for that path, kind of makes sense. Because here's the problem in the other way for me. This is just my gut on it. If LSU wins, then A&M does have that conference loss, and obviously Texas. Theoretically, you're talking about giving them another one later, and then they're out of it anyway. I get that part. It's the LSU part that would get tough. They play Bama at Florida. They're Vandy and OU. If they got through that, right now they host Bama. I'm not looking at that game right now. First of all, I don't know if I exactly know who's better in that game right now because LSU's had some up and down. But I certainly can't tell you Bama wins for sure. The problem you might run into, it's that if LSU's out ahead of you, and they end up in Atlanta, my concern for you as Texas fans, if you're trying to get your team in at that point, it would be that, yeah, you might kick A&M out of the discussion, but you'd end up tied with Georgia. If Georgia beat Tennessee and that game is in Athens, you're stuck that way. That's at least the way I'm seeing it play out. Now if you're one that just believes that eventually LSU and A&M are going to have 2 conference losses, well, then there's just other discussions to have. But that is at least how I'm, looking at it right now. And I think this is probably true too. South KMX, we need Georgia to lay an egg versus Ole Miss or Tennessee. That could happen too. They're at Oxford as well. And that Lane Kiffin roller coaster, it hits high notes. Its high notes are impressive. You may get one this weekend against OU, but you may not. Like, where are their ups? Where are their downs? Their ups can surprise you. Can they find an up in Oxford to beat that Georgia team? Nah, we'll see. We'll see. Here's the super chat for you, $4.99. JR, so sick of the arch, roll the dice, homers. Quinn is the starter. Get over it, homers. JR, that is a fantastic super chat because I do think I do think there's a weird discussion kind of to have this week, but I'm glad you brought it up because I do think there feels like there is a discussion happening maybe on 2 sides of the fan base. And we'll get into that. In fact, we will get into that in just a second. I did want to mention one of my favorite places in the world, and that is Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Y'all have heard me talk about it before. It's real simple. It is get rid of your allergies for good if you got them. It is get rid of snoring if you got it. Get rid of sleep apnea if you got it, and be healthier, feel better. One of my favorite parts of this whole deal is I remember feeling the difference along the way. I could feel it as I started sleeping better. It's not like it may not have been like a one night, bad sleep to good sleep, but I could tell it was happening. I could tell the progress was happening. You take a sleep test in the early going. They send you home with it and they get numbers off of it. And then that way they know how well the treatments are working. And then do you need to tweak something? Do you need to add something? Do you need to do it? Here's a goofy little detail I never would have thought about. This is what I always say, like they have surgical and non-surgical options. Nobody else has. It's the very latest in ear, nose, and throat. When Dr. Slaughter told me that they were going to cut my uvula like down, I thought, what are you talking about? So we're talking about the punching bag in the back of your throat. Mine was 3 or 4 times too big. Times. And I'm like, well, what, huh? And then that, I didn't think of it as that's part of why I was snoring and why I was snoring so bad. So that has actually helped me. The only thing it took from me is I can't imitate Chewbacca anymore. But I wasn't getting paid for imitating Chewbacca. And I thought it was a loss I was willing to take. So double check on that. If you have a giant uvula and you imitate Chewbacca for a living, this may not be for you. But that was part of my process and just one of those crazy little details you don't think about. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. When you go in there, tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. I would appreciate it because, obviously it's a lot about the referrals, if you will. I've had a relationship with them since 2017, and I know they've helped a lot of people. And some of you have been nice enough to mention me and mention Orange Bloods Live when you go in there. I do appreciate it. SinusSnoringENT.com. The number is 601-0303. And if you know where Parmer and Mopac is, that's where they are. It is not tough to find. Right there at Parmer and Mopac, that area of Austin. So check them out. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right. So I don't see another super chat. So let me stick this super chat up one more time. Everybody kind of get it in your head. And I want to get into a little bit of the buy or sells that I put together today, because I want to do this as like a community buy or sell. And my first one speaks right to this. Here's what I want to know from y'all. Buy or sell number 1, your surprise level that Sark actually went to Arch was 8 out of 10 on Saturday. Because mine was a 9 or a 10 for sure. For sure. I did not think I was going to see it. I did not think it was going to happen. Yet afterwards, I had so many people, Catch and Anwar and all these people that didn't seem shocked, weren't surprised. And Then it was like, no, I get, but they got it as they saw it. They might not have been surprised, but something about the way it played out, people are just nodding along with Sark going, yep, nah, it's totally it. Now here comes some answers. S. Roan says he was at a 19 on a 10-point scale. Here's another one. Says it was a 10. Roan being maybe a little more serious. ATX 875. Tex Blonde says it was a 10 out of 10. JD Hack says it was a 20. Yeah. It's just, Josh, 10. I was at a wedding and we all watched on our phones. There were gasps. Yes, Josh, there were. I couldn't believe it. I still cannot believe it actually happened. Now, we can talk about what happened after that, but it's so weird. If you were going to put him back in anyway, and the whole point was just, we got to let him chill out. Have him hand the ball off. How about 2 straight possessions of no matter what happens, he's not passing? That could have done it. There's also time on the sidelines. Your defense was playing maybe your defense was playing too well and getting him right back out there, but there are other ways to deal with that instead of officially opening the Pandora's box. But that's exactly what he did. Now here's Tex Guy saying it was a 6. Okay. All right. Yeah. And it was a 23, as in 23-0. That's fair. That's totally fair. If it's Micah or my card 66. Anyway, yes, that's totally fair. It is totally fair for you to say that. Another one, 10 out of 10 that Quinn played that bad. Oscar, interesting point. The shock was not when they pulled him to me. And maybe that ultimately is it, Oscar. It's about you were shocked that it was going to look like that because you didn't think it was going to look like that. The one thing I did not think we were going to see in that game was a blowout either way. If you tell me that one team will lead that game 23-0, I would have been surprised. Either way. Make your argument either way. Because I was not one of those that thought Texas was that much better than Georgia. Picked them to win, but I thought it was a touchdown battle. I think I went 31-24. I thought this thing was, down to the end, one score, real time, real football game kind of stuff. So that's a great way to look at it. I mean, I get it. And, again, it's a huge we'll see now. Tex Guy, I think it turned out to be a good move. Tex Guy, we will see. They did look a little better in the third quarter. But is it because he sat? Because getting the head cleared is one thing, but it's 2 separate things. You can clear Quinn's head and you can play Arch Manning. By doing both at the same time, you've created something that I don't know where this goes now. Because some of you in this chat right now are going to be Team Quinn. He's the starter. And like somebody, like the super chatter said earlier, I'm tired of this crap. I'm tired of this roll the dice crap. Quinn's the guy. I understand that thinking. There's a whole lot of people that have now put Quinn on the shelf in their mind. Right or wrong. It's happened. And now we're going to see. Now we are going to see what this is. And here's S. Roan typing these words. I thought it was going to be Sims Applewhite or Mock Young again. S. Roan, how are you certain it's not? I hope you're right. It doesn't need to be either one of those things because both of those were messes in their own way. Are you sure it's not one? Are you sure? Because in my mind, the version of Sark I had in my mind was going to walk out there and be like, hey, because let's go back. Last Thursday, a member of the media in the Zoom call thing began the question, tried to ask this question. Sark, what would have to happen for you to put Arch Manning in? Before he could even finish the question, he said, I'm not even going to answer that. I don't even know what that question is. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's basically the question and basically the answer. I don't have the exact specifics right, but that's basically what it was. Okay. So that tells me you think it's an insult. You think it's crazy. Do you know what that tells me? Georgia could lead that game 35-0. And Quinn has to eat it. That's what that tells me. That's the messaging to me. Doesn't matter. 2 pick sixes, 28-0 Georgia. Quinn, it's your team. That's at least what that attitude tells me, but he didn't do that. He saw a moment where he thought he had to go that way. He came back this week in a press conference and he talked about O-line, receivers, running backs. He did everything but say the fans didn't, the fans were great. He was blaming, he put the blame everywhere on Monday. But when you take your quarterback out in that situation, you are putting the blame on him. So what happens now? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Here's another super chat from Oscar, $4.99. What are the other options? Can't run the ball, and at that point, he couldn't do anything. The shock was how poor his play was, not the pulling. Oscar, again, I do think it's a good point, and it does bring up what I think is the big concern for this team right now, and you said it. You can't run the ball. If you're a Texas fan right now, you could not have thought the run game would look like this at this point. How about this for a weird point of the season? With one more carry, Trey Wisner will equal Jaden Blue's carries this year. Wisner's at 60. Blue's got 61. Wisner is averaging 5.5 a carry. Right now, the numbers tell you he is the guy. Forget the fumble stuff. The yards per carry tells you that. It's 4.4 for Blue. It's 5.5 for Wisner. If you just care about that, if that's how the rubber meets the road, then you got to go with Wisner. You got to go with 26 and assume that you're about to play a worse team. Because guess what? You are. You're not playing that Georgia defense again. You're playing a Vanderbilt defense that is 37 in the country against the run, 68 against the pass. It's a 39 total defense in the country. Your offense is supposedly 15 in the country. So you have to go off that assumption that it's a little bit worse, at least, and that you're going to be successful. But I don't know. Wisner, yards per game, 107th in the country. Yards per carry, 53rd in the country. By way of comparison, Cedric Alexander of Vanderbilt, who they'll face this week, 109th in yards per game, 119th in yards per carry, by the way. Vanderbilt is not chopping everybody up with tons of yards per carry or tons of rushing yards. Both the quarterback and Cedric Alexander average 4 per carry. 4. That's it. It's not wretched, but it's not elite. They just grind you down. That's their idea. Can Texas do that to them is kind of part of the question. But Oscar, I think it's a great point to throw in. And you're right. It's how poor it was. Sark couldn't even conceive in that media event. He couldn't even conceive of the idea. We got to ask those questions last week and for weeks and months before. We did a lot of versions of it. What if Texas is down this much and Quinn doesn't look good? Are y'all going to call for Arch? Is Sark going to think about Arch? Will Arch want Arch to go in? Will Quinn be afraid Arch is going to go? All that got discussed. Sark thought it was silly, though. Sark thought it was ludicrous. And last week, it hit him. It hit him right in the face in a way he wasn't expecting. It's almost like if you ask a guy that's been married for 35 years, what would you do if you went to a bar and you saw your wife in the corner sitting with another man and he stops you? Oh, Mabel would never do that to me. Mabel would never do that to me. How dare you? And he storms off. But then that weekend, he actually walks into a bar and he actually sees her with another guy at a table. And he reaches over and he gives her a little kiss on the cheek. And he sees that she's not afraid and that she kind of likes it. Then he's got to confront it. And he didn't think he had to. That's what Sark ran into in that game. He couldn't even come up with the idea of how Quinn could be bad enough that he would say, 16, you're in. But he did. He saw it. He eventually got there. All right. So interesting idea there and I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the feedback on that. Get to another one here in a second. Oscar, what's concerning more than that? What is concerning more than that loss? How much confidence will Sark have in Quinn after that? Oscar, decent point. Because now you've seen it. You've seen something, and the idea is kind of in your mind. You fans know the 2 games you're going to go to. Maybe it's good news you're not going to the rival games because they're roadies. I'm just saying, if you're just a home fan person, the Arkansas thing happens away. The A&M thing happens away. This weekend, Quinn working through whatever it is, it's away. But y'all know what's coming in these 2 home games. What if it's a slow start against Florida? What if it's a slow start against Kentucky? Kentucky's run defense is better than Georgia. Kentucky's run defense is elite, top 10 kind of good. Go watch Georgia try to run the ball on Kentucky. You know what they are. Those dudes in blue are going to come to Austin with nothing to lose and just want to wreck Texas's running game. You're going to need a quarterback that's confident that day. Are you going to have it? And if you don't, what's your reaction going to be as a fan? I don't know. We'll see. We will see. All right. Let us get to the there you go. Good question. Got to bring it up occasionally. Jefferson. Catch is taking the day. He's not sick or anything. He's just dealing with the administrative side of it. He's being the boss today. He's got meetings, talking about sponsorships, talking about all kinds of cool stuff. So Jefferson, thank you for that question. Before we get to the next buy or sell, speaking of great partners, let's talk about TCH Social. Watch party time. It's happening again on Saturday. Really enjoyed going to TCH Social these last couple weeks and watching the games. Obviously, for the Texas side of it, it was not phenomenal watching Texas and Georgia there, but certainly wasn't on TCH Social Austin. They had this amazing screen I'm going to show you here in a second, but let's focus in on these specials, beer freaks. The specials start at $2.15, $1 draft, $2 jellyfish. Oh yeah. By the way, that draft includes 2 of my favorites, Stella and Love Street. And when you're talking about a $1 version of those, it's pretty damn good. The $2 jellyfish is obviously incredible as well. And there's that screen for you. Shout out to my mother who took this picture. Big old screen there in the early going of Texas and Georgia, but that's the setup. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is a 3:15 kick over there at TCH Social. Also remember, coming up through the 26th, there's still an opportunity or 2 for you to get into the Trailblazer. Scan that QR code to find out more. TCH Social Austin. Food is really, really good. That's been impressive as well. The Bad Beat Bacon, it is now legendary in my house anyway. I loved it. I knew my mom would love it, and my mom couldn't stop talking about it. Oh, that bacon. Boy, you were right. Yeah, it's that good. Bad Beat Bacon. It is fantastic. So shout out to TCH Social Austin. Come see us this weekend. That's right, JD. Mama Hastings don't mess around when it comes to bacon. Doesn't mess around at all. Some of y'all were nice enough to come by and meet the folks. They were there. And by the way, you know what else? Hang on. Look, while we have this up there, you know what else Mama Hastings did last week? She rooted for the Longhorns. I didn't even tell her to. I was going to let her do whatever she wanted to. She was sitting there rocking her maroon because we had watched A&M and Mississippi State. It was a key moment in the game. There were a couple moments throughout the game, actually. But without even saying, I was just listening to her. Because my mom's one of those fans. She'll say it out loud. She believes in manifesting stuff. She likes to try to create it. So she'll tell you, come on defense, we need a turnover. Come on offense, we need this, we need that. She said out loud during the game, the Texans needed to block a field goal and run it back for a touchdown. And I was like, okay, go ahead. There you go. So can't we all just get along? In that case, she likes it. Because you know what else my mom is? My mom's super old school. She's one of those state of Texas people. Well, who do you root for when Texas plays OU? My mom will tell you, well, I root for Texas because I live in the state of Texas. I was born in the state of Texas. And if you don't understand, get out of my house. She doesn't say that. She'd let an OU fan watch the game with her. She'd make him sit in the back of the room, but she'd let him watch. Oscar, thank you for the super chats. Thank you all for those super chats that are coming in. Okay, so here is your next buy or sell. Let's just go back. Let's go back around on this because I am fascinated by what you'll do now that rivalries come back and you got the conference stuff and you got tiebreakers. What do you do this weekend in College Station? Buy or sell number 2. You'll root for LSU and not A&M this week. Do you believe in that former chat that you just can't root for the rival? You've been raised a Longhorn fan, and no matter what people tell you and how it could affect you, you just can't do it. Can't root for A&M. You can't root for OU. You can't root for Arkansas. Is that who you are? Or Did you understand what I laid out for you earlier, where you might want to root for the team that's on your schedule and not root for the one that's not on your schedule? That's what I'd be trying to figure out, kind of, if I'm a Texas fan. We all go through this as NFL fans, right? I'm a Cowboys fan. Hopefully they're still fighting for the division. Who knows? But you know how it works. You get in a game where you're like, okay, it's Washington against the Giants. Who do we actually root for? Is it this or is it that? How do you know? How do you figure it out? Here's one I will not root against, as I won't root against A&M. Scott's going that way. Our man Harish jumps in and says it's a big buy, rooting for LSU versus A&M. And sometimes, here's the other part. Sometimes it's not even about your team. It is about, the other fan base might flip out, and you do enjoy watching that. Longhorn fans admit it. That's part of it, right? You like it. Like last week when South Carolina did that to Oklahoma, you just enjoyed watching the fans freak out, right? So in your mind, and here's the other thing Longhorn fans will do, and this is a classic big brother, little brother dynamic. Trust me, I know I'm an actual little brother. The last thing the big brother wants sometimes is for little brother to get a little bit of something. Because, he never shuts up about the something. That, I know, is how you Longhorn fans think about my Aggies sometimes. Because whether you're right or wrong, you believe, and this is crazy, I just can't believe y'all say this stuff. You think that my people make too big a deal out of stuff sometimes. I mean, how dare you? How dare you say such a thing? But I know that is where you, it's how you believe. Super chat here coming in from JR, $9.99. Thank you, JR. While they are at it, Archers should petition Georgia to pull back only scored 13 only scored 13 points versus UK and lost to Bama. Bama to pull Milrow. Only scored 17 points versus Tennessee in a loss. Arch did horrible in 2 series versus Georgia. JR, I get the point that you're making, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I can expand on it now. Think about it. Those guys you're mentioning, they're not getting pulled. Beck didn't get pulled down 28-0. Milrow, I know what people could tell me about Milrow and getting pulled. Pulled him out for that South Florida game, put him back in. Maybe there's a little different feel to that we could talk about, but there wasn't a guy like that on the sidelines necessarily coming in, and it's just so unique. We had to know this. I was telling y'all this for months back in the summer. This is the most unique college football situation we have ever watched, ever. There is nothing like this theater that's playing out. All the little ingredients that are part of it, and Arch Manning being Arch Manning is a huge part of it, because you as Texas fans, you don't watch your quarterback fail the way Georgia and Bama fans do. Kind of the way Oklahoma fans do, because they know they've got a guy on the sideline that maybe should play. And he'll play this week. What's up, Jackson? But it's different for y'all. It's different. Even now, like the most hardcore A&M fan, if Connor Wigman starts to have a bad day, throws a pick early in a game, are they immediately thinking of Marcel Reed? Maybe. But with what Wigman did against Missouri, I think maybe it's swung the other way. That's a possibility. But it's so unique about the way you'll feel as a Texas fan. That's why I asked the question last week. But now we're in a whole nother spot. Not only do you have to process it, your coach made the move. You watched it happen. You watched a healthy Quinn Ewers, if you believe he's healthy, because that's another part of it too. But you watched a healthy, he can play Quinn Ewers get pulled out of that game, and now you have to process that moving forward. JR, a very interesting point, because I do think it's different than other quarterbacks, and that's where I wonder about the psyche of Quinn. Can Quinn deal with all that he's going through? Because someone could make that exact argument to him. Other quarterbacks wouldn't have been taken out. However bad Dak plays in the first quarter against the Niners this week, if he plays bad, I will not think of Cooper Rush one time. Now, that's also because the Cowboys don't know how to get quarterbacks and they can't develop a backup, and there's the owners. Anyway, that's a different discussion. There's too much there. That's a different kind of circus. Let's not ultra circus. We're just talking regular circus here. Let's stay with the regular, the regular situation here. All right. I don't see another super chat right now, but just a kind of a thought on it. Your fandom is going to let you. Here's what we'll do. If your fandom says you got to root for LSU, do it. No problem. If for some reason the Aggies get the win, if they do step up and get the win, they're slightly favored in the game. I think I'm going to pick the Aggies, by the way, in a close one, like in College Station. Death Valley, I think I might pick LSU. Wild. It's a very intriguing game to watch, though. But let's say the Aggies win. Then, as a Texas fan, I would just tell you now you can be glad about that result because I think you've set yourself up a little. You got a clear path set up at that point, and LSU's kind of been dealt with in a way. LSU might have been dealt with in just 1 week, but we'll see. And there is a long way to go. There's a lot of football still left to go. So we will see. Sandman likes LSU by 10 this week. Yeah, let me know what you think about that ball game because it is really, really interesting to take a look at. And not that it matters for this game specifically, but I did look up. What were the situations that I looked up for A&M? I found was interesting. Top 15 matchup at Kyle Field. Last time it happened was 2021 against Auburn. The last time A&M hosted a top 10, LSU in 22. And the last time they hosted a top 10, and they were also in the top 15, 2016 against Tennessee. And the Aggies did win all 3 of those games. Obviously, that doesn't matter for Saturday. But just to give you an idea of kind of where the pattern has been, and they have played a couple of these. Somebody says LSU by 17. By the way, ZOV, all the way back to the beginning of the show, if Kelshawn Johnson said, if anything, what's his quote? Let me make sure I get this right. If anything ever happened at A&M, Texas would be the place to go. Now, there's a clear game I could mention. If A&M drops the New Mexico State game, Kelshawn Johnson will probably pay attention. But then the question would be, what else could happen to get him to really think about it, to really think about coming to Austin and flipping a commitment? Is it lose at South Carolina and lose at Auburn for the Aggies? Is it lose those 2 and lose this weekend and maybe lose like this, ZOV? What if LSU goes in there and they beat the Aggies by multiple scores? Do any of the recruits react? And remember, this is also a weekend where we'll see what recruits are there. I don't know if Kelshawn Johnson's going to be at the LSU A&M game, but do recruits come in? And like we always try to figure out, does the result of the game actually matter? Jefferson says A&M by 10. Wigman goes for over 170 passing. Jefferson, we will see. Jared says, I don't mind A&M beating LSU if Texas takes care of business and the rest of the season, but Quinn worries me. Yeah, Jared, it is kind of back to that, isn't it? It is. And I get it. I think I would definitely tell you that the run game is a concern, but I think right now somebody would be nuts to tell you there's a bigger concern than 3. The way it's looked. Offense as a whole, all the way back to Mississippi State, but these 2 games, they just haven't been good. Haven't been good. Airmailed passes, bad reads, not stepping up, and certainly he's not alone. Sark's right to mention some stuff. There were moments where that offensive line wasn't great, but I could also say Quinn didn't help them. There were also moments where that run game wasn't great, and that's the one I don't know what to put on Quinn. They have got to effectively run the ball a little bit better. I double-checked the number, by the way. Trey Wisner needs 134 yards per game if he's going to get 1,000 in the regular season, because that's what Sark's had every year that he's a coach, just to let you know. Sandman predicting Aggie tears next Monday. We will see. We will see. Brad says, I hope LSU and A&M goes to 20 overtimes again. Kirk Bowles and Kirk alone. There you go. Brad, I was at that game, and it was a wild, tension-filled night. The Aggies got the benefit of a couple calls that night that I'll always remember, but it was weird that game scared college football so much. There was nothing I saw that night as I walked out that told me, you know what we don't need? More of that. When you keep piling that drama on top of that drama on top of that drama, it was pretty cool. Like, my parents were on the other side of the stadium that night from me because I went with my niece, who was a student at the time, and we sat up like third deck. I sat up there with the students, with the kids, me and the kids. Old Uncle Chad and the kids were freaking out. It was kind of fun. And win or lose, it was really exciting. I don't know why they got scared and changed the rule, but some people like the fact that they changed that rule. We'll see what those two do. They have played a couple of weird ones over the years. How about this? Blake taking the trip. Anyone going to be at the Vandy game? I'll be there. You know what, Blake? Enjoy Nashville. I hear it is a great show. I have learned over the years they are serious about their alcohol. They love their liquor in Nashville. And now they've got a pretty good football team. They've got Pavia, who they can really get around, that's really galvanized that fan base. He's a blast to watch. Cedric Alexander's a cool story from Austin that I'm following because I remember covering him in high school. But yeah, it should be an interesting environment there. This is now a team that it's not just, hey, look, Texas is coming in and let's see if we can make it close and let's see if we can make it a ball game. I mean, they beat Bama. So it's going to give them a lot of confidence, but enjoy it. Have a good discussion Have a good time in Nashville. Blake says he lives in Tennessee. Okay. About 2 hours west of Nashville. Gabe says he's going to be there. So Gabe and Blake, y'all can get together. You can do it. Find some good food, find some stuff. Sounds like they have a great party going there in Nashville. All right. Let's see. Let's go to the next buy or sell. All right. Let's go back to the good side. Let's go to the good side because I know a lot of you have your Quinn worries. So let's go here. Let me give you this number before I throw it up. Pass defense, 68 in the country for Vanderbilt. Texas is the number 16 passing offense in the country. And here we go. Buy or sell number 3. Quinn will throw 3 or more touchdowns this week. What do you think, Texas fans? 3 or more this week. It's kind of going to have to happen, maybe, finding that run game. Vandy against the run. Actually decent, top 40 against the run. Or do you see it as Wisner's really going to be able to get off against this defense because it's not Georgia and it's a little more of a run back? Because one of the big keys in this game, I know this makes me an old school football fan, but there's a game and we have a bye coming in here. Yeah. Likes the 3 or more. Craig likes the bye, 3 or more touchdowns for Quinn. And now we have a couple of sells coming in. 3, three's a lot. 3's a lot. Here's one stat to watch in this game above all else. Sometimes y'all know I try to give you too many stats and it'll get confusing. All that I would tell you to watch for is third downs. Vanderbilt is surprisingly good at it. Texas is not surprisingly. They're really good at stopping it. So third down percentage for Vanderbilt. They're 8th in the country converting third downs. So let's all, as you watch that Bama game, and you just think about it, that's the story of that ball game. Bama could not stop those damn sticks from moving. They just couldn't. Remember the little swing pass to Cedric Alexander with about 2 minutes to go that really broke Bama's neck? Incredible play calls, making the sticks move. They are 8th in the country, converting 52% of their third downs. 52%. And on the other side, Texas fans, this is what you got to watch. Your defense is 10th in the country in defending third downs. You only give up 29%. This is a very similar matchup for that number, very similar to what we saw in College Station when A&M played Missouri. I'm looking at the numbers. I was going to that game on the Texas off week. And what we saw in that game was Missouri couldn't live up to their number. Missouri couldn't keep the football. They'd been doing it against not that great a schedule. And the Aggies came in with a pretty good percentage against, like Texas, maybe not quite that good, but it was close. And it ended up being the defense that put on the show. They made the stops. That's what Texas has to do. They have to do on the road what the Aggies did to Missouri at home. They have to shut down those conversions. Don't let Nashville think it could happen again. Don't let the people in that town think that they're going to have to fish another goalpost out of that river. That's the key. You got to stop them on third down. So maybe this is a time of possession kind of game. Although to me, that's not when Sark's offense is rolling, it ain't about time of possession. It's about third downs. So I'll tell you, usually I go to both of those stats. I think it's just one this week. I think it is all about third downs. What do you do to Vanderbilt when they are trying to get that extra bit of momentum? Because they're going to take it. They are going to try to essentially, in a 40-35 game, it's hard to say death by paper cuts, but that's what it was. They beat Bama just over and over again, just little stuff, bugging them to death. How do you bug the other team's defense to death? Just never get off the field. Just be on the field. That night, it was 42 minutes of time of possession. I'm going to say that again. Vanderbilt held the ball from Bama for 42 minutes. Sark said it this week. You got to make your plays count. Don't count your plays. That is critical for Texas. So third down's big, and the Vanderbilt time of possession has to be a big deal in this game. It has to be. Texas, not so much. So let me amend. You do have to watch Vanderbilt's number. Texas fans, if Vanderbilt gets 35 minutes of time of possession, I think that's bad news. That is bad news pushing towards what the hell. You got to keep them off the field. Just something to keep in mind. Now, of course, Scott brings this up. Yes, Scott, unless the Horns just keep hitting the big plays. It's true. It's true. We all know the stats can always skew weird ways, but that's the one thing. Think about it. Vanderbilt held the ball for 42 minutes and they beat Bama by 5. You hold the ball for 42 minutes, you should probably beat somebody worse than that, but it's all about how you do it. First time I ever saw a 40-20 and knew what it was Super Bowl 25 when the Giants did it to the Bills. How do we stop Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and, oh my God, Andre Reed? Well, what if they didn't have the ball? Oh, let's try that. And they won it by that. They won it because the dude missed a kick. So it's not the most dynamic way to do business, but that's what Vandy wants to do this week. They want to choke Texas out. And personally, I don't think they can do it. I think Texas is going to win, but probably not cover. I don't know if it's going all the way up to 18, but I think Texas can get a good solid double-digit win this week, and we will see. And Sandman, boy, there's another thing to bring you confidence. If you believe in that bye and that Quinn Ewers is going to throw 3 or more, this defense has to give you confidence. I've been saying it so long now. That's what makes you trust your team is your defense. If your offense even kind of showed up at the beginning of that game against Georgia, if you even kind of run the ball, if Quinn's even kind of out of that haze, what could you have done? How close would that game have been? Now, I know they needed to make one stop at 23-15. They couldn't do it. I've ripped them for that. That's their fault. But they had some big moments. By the way, Daddy Sorrell, if you're out there, we haven't specifically talked enough about Barron this week, but damn, 88 was there last week. 88 was playing. That's some big, big moments. I know he wasn't happy about the result, but please send him all the best from the Orange Bloods live crew and fans and chat that he looked great, and we hope the defense certainly looks great in Nashville. All right, Sandman, thank you for that. Let me see. We clear the chats off, just making sure what we're doing here. There we go. All right. Let me just scan for super chats. I don't see one right now. Wait a minute. Make sure that I get that one. That's a 999er. Yeah. There it is. And by the way, if you missed that discussion this week, Catch is in the process of taking some people off the banned list on the chat. We think that if you're on the banned list and tried to send a super chat, maybe that's why we weren't seeing some of those. So we're trying to deal with that. Here's an interesting one from Jared before we get to the next buy or sell. With Wisner injured, air quotes, or quotes, that's regular quotes, right? And Blue not getting a lot of reps, can Gibson step up or needs to step up? Jared, that's another wild part of that game. I'm shocked if you tell me Arch plays for a healthy Quinn Ewers. And I am beyond shocked if you tell me Blue doesn't carry the ball. Just that part of it. In addition to the running game itself with Wisner hasn't really gotten going, this lack of trust in Jaden Blue. And I'm not going to call it all of a sudden. We don't see everything, but my God, what is happening in practice with this dude? We saw the 2 in the game. How many balls is he fumbling in practice? Or how much is he not paying attention? To not get any carries. Now, the little swing pass, whatever Texas route or whatever you call it out of the backfield, that was a beautiful play. Quinn nails him on it. And we all probably had the same thought, man, if that's him and not Wisner early in the game, again, you're, going with Wisner over Blue, you're asking a less experienced guy to make all these plays. Blue, if he's that guy, the flea flicker check down, which I've never seen in my life be that wide open. Think about it. You ever seen a flea flicker? We all know they're designed to go long. Nobody ever designs a flea flicker to go 12 yards. But they designed that play so that if the play wasn't there, he had a check down. Georgia didn't even pay attention to the check down. And if the check down catches it, he might have gone 60 whatever yards for a touchdown. I'm not sure if I've ever quite seen scheming work that well, and the guy drops the ball. But that could have been a great play, and obviously would have been a huge moment if Texas could have gotten it to 7-0 right there. Here's Calvin jumping in. He ain't the only one with this thought. 3 years with Quinn as a game manager. I've had enough. Yes, he has talent, but he's fragile every year. He's not NFL ready. And Calvin used the 2 words, game manager. I don't know if that's fair, but he used them. I'm not going to tell Calvin how to feel. I'm not going to tell Calvin his feelings are wrong. His feelings are valid, and he sees a game manager. It almost doesn't matter what the truth is. That's his truth. Calvin sees it that way, and he's tired of it. So Calvin might say, he might be in the roll the dice crowd. Just go. Just go. Put 16 in and go. That's where we are, because that Pandora's box has now officially been opened. All right. Before we get back to buy or sell, let me show you something that I always buy, and that is the cocktails at Deep Eddy Vodka. Oh my goodness. It's like I only have one kid, but if I was one of those families, if I was a Phillip Rivers, if I was a Nick Cannon, I would tell you that trying to pick between all these, I don't know if I have a favorite. I really don't. Because I could tell you the Dreamsicle is my favorite. It does have that Dreamsicle magic from when I was a kid. But dadgummit, that cherry limeade my wife got, damn good. Upper right, that passion fruit sour, it's damn good. That orange and peach mule, all I did was say, hey, the orange and the peach vodka, that's my favorite Deep Eddy vodkas. And he was like, well, I can make it a mule. And I'm like, well, I like mules. And he said, okay, it was awesome. And I'll be honest, I still need to go have that Texas margarita, the refresher there with the cucumber in it, muddled cucumber. I've now learned what muddled means. Didn't even know. They're all out there. Thursday, 12 to 7. Friday and Saturday, 11 to 7. Sunday, 12 to 5. Been in contact with the folks out at the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. They're working on a little bit of a QR code that could get you some help on a tasting. So we're trying to figure that detail out, but I definitely would recommend the tasting. I did that the last time I went out there. It's just a good time. Crimson Creek Smokehouse Barbecue is right there on site, and it is awesome. You'll love it out at Deep Eddy Vodka in the tasting room. The weather's a little cooler. Do it safely, obviously. Get your DD or your ride share ready to go, but it is such a good time. Shout out to the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. Banks, I'm just going to take a sip of water on that. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. All right. Yeah, Sandman. To be honest, I'd chug them all. You can do that too. You can chug. One thing, the only word of warning we would give you as Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room people, Sherry, who really is always the reason for the season to go out there. I've never been to the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room without Sherry. So Sherry, my wife, and a group, we've been out there every time that I've been there. But Sherry always mentions, this stuff just hits you smooth. Like you don't even know it's there. You don't realize it's happening until it is happening, but sometimes until it has happened. So you do have to be very careful. Then do it responsibly. At Deep Eddy Vodka, because it is 10 times distilled, because it is made as good as it's made, because they go through all those processes, man, is it smooth. And definitely remind yourself of that on the tasting, because you're going to have 8 samplings in front of you, and it is such a good time. But definitely make sure you're being careful out there. It is good stuff. All right, let's get to the next buy or sell. We got a couple of weird buy or sells here. We're outside of football. We're going to weird stuff. Are you ready for weird stuff? I know that you are. A little past 1 o'clock. It's 1:14. We always get weird. Game of Thrones fans, this is for you. Buy or sell number 4, Emilia Clarke. 38 years old today. Prime on prime in Game of Thrones. Mother of Dragons. Hotter than Cersei Lannister. Let's go. Let's go blonde on blonde. Let's go crazy on crazy. Let's go the queen to rule them all versus the queen to rule them all. What do you do in this hotter than matchup? I frankly don't know. I think in the end, I go Mother of Dragons, because up to a certain point, we would all think, well, okay. She is the Mother of Dragons and she's done all that, but at least there's a human being in there, right? But by the end of it, I don't know if I'd make that argument. We got one bye for Daenerys. We got another Dany fan. Amelia is running this thing right now. We got more buys. Nobody wants to mess with Cersei. Look at this. Easy buys. Wow. Cersei getting absolutely no love. Just admit it. Y'all are scared of Cersei, aren't you? Also, the proclivities, what we learned about the proclivities in the Lannister family, that might scare you away. They're both terrifying. They're both, you want to talk about the hot, crazy scale? Woo, man. These two. Look at that. Mother of Dragons, just taking it. All right. Seems like it's going to be a Mother of Dragons. Okay. And South Texican. The Mother of Dragons could ruin my life, and I'd absolutely be okay with that. South Texican, I think you are absolutely right. All right. How about this? Look at this. Cersei getting ripped on. Cersei was meh. Okay, Sam, man. All right. So definitely the Queen of Dragons is getting the win there. But let me help you guys out with one thing, because we're not there yet. We're on the way to this season. We're in October. Halloween movies rolling now. Let me just save you guys. Here's something to always remember. If you're like me and you love Emilia Clarke, I love her. Loved her in Game of Thrones. If you get to Christmas time and you see a Christmas movie on television called Last Christmas with Emilia Clarke, don't do it. You're going to want to, but please don't do it. Okay? They're going to draw you in. The cast will be familiar to you. The dude from Crazy Rich Asians, he's in it. Don't do it. Go watch Crazy Rich Asians instead. Emma Thompson is her mother. I know. I love Emma Thompson too. Don't do it. Don't do it. Trust me. Don't do it. The woman from, I believe, the mother, I think this is right. I can't remember her name right now. But the mother from Crazy Rich Asians, that incredible actress that's won an Oscar and done all kinds of great stuff, she's in it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. It is one of the best 40 to 45 minutes of a movie, Christmas type movie I may have ever watched, but the ending is not worth that. The ending is horrific. Don't do it. Don't do it. No Last Christmas. Watch Game of Thrones. It'll be happier. Mother of Dragons will make you happier than what they're doing with that thing. Don't do it. I don't care if you're a George Michael fan. I don't care if you love this. Don't do it. Trust me. Last Christmas, not worth it. Just my opinion. All right. Dorn chicks are hot. Thank you, J. Bevo Horn. That is fantastic. Fantastic. This one says, didn't watch her in Solo, a Star Wars story either. Sandman, I got multiple issues with that movie. Emilia Clarke's not the problem with that movie. If you like Emilia Clarke, you can watch Solo. She ain't the problem with that movie. That movie's got some issues. That's not it. Emilia Clarke's not the problem with that movie. All right. Somebody else says they've never seen Game of Thrones. I cannot recommend the sequel that's out now, but I would recommend the original, Mark. It is very good. Very, very good. All right. Let's see. I don't see super chats at this moment. So I think we only have one more buy or sell to go. All right. Here we go. We're going buy or sell. This one's personal, but I want to hear your personal stories too. I will explain why I'm laying this out. Ready? Here we go. Buy or sell, number 5. You can tell me the best concert you've been to with your dad. I know I'm not the only one that's been to a concert with my dad, so I want you to tell me, give me a concert you and your dad went to that's memorable for you. It may not be, you may not be in the same boat I am, because very few people are, because I do have a very unique father when it comes to this. So check this out. I'm in the middle of a really cool week right now. Last Friday, my parents came into town. Last Friday, my mom and I go see the Simone Biles deal at Moody Center. It's fantastic. It was mostly about Simone, but I got to tell you, I do have a bit of a crush on Jordan Childs right now. I'm admitting it. It was fantastic to see them. Great event. My mom raised me loving gymnastics. She's a big figure skating fan. And to see them perform live was so cool. Women, they had women's members of the team and men's members of the team, members of the 24 team going back multiple Olympics. There's music, there's light, the light shows, and they've got all the different apparatuses going, except for a couple, but it was great. It was really cool. So I got to do that with my mom. Then tomorrow, I'm recording on Wednesday. Then tomorrow, my dad and I are going to go see Judas Priest. Oh my God. My favorite heavy metal band of all time, Judas Priest. And it hit me last night. I've never seen Judas Priest. I may be the only child that can ever utter this sentence. I've never seen Judas Priest without my dad. I've seen him 6 times. 7 will be this week, but I've never seen him without him. Do you know why? Because I would have gotten grounded. If I tried to go see Judas Priest without my dad, oh, he'd have been pissed. Other parents get pissed, you want to go. My dad would get pissed if you don't want to take him. So I get to do that. And then Friday, I'm going to a concert with my daughter. So I've been trying to pay it forward for all the concerts that my dad was good enough to buy the tickets for and take us to in the early days and all that kind of stuff. So y'all give me a story or two about a concert with your dad, because I would love to check it out. So I want to do that. We got a couple of them coming in. Okay. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is a good one. Hang on. Let's start with this, and I'll tell you the other story. Old Lubbock Longhorn in grad school. First concert I attended was with my dad. I was 9, 1985, and I got a contact high at a Santana show. Well done. Well done. You know what my first concert with my dad was? Bon Jovi and Cinderella. First time I ever smelled pot. I got the same thing, and we went to Whataburger, and it's the best burger I've ever had probably in my life. Well done. Old Lubbock Longhorn grad school dad. Good job. Good job. Santana in 85 is a badass way to do that. I don't know if that was, no, you said, yeah, first one you attended with your dad. It's beautiful. That is beautiful. That's what we want. How about this one? Gabe, Oasis next August in Chicago. There you go. If the brothers can just keep it cool and not fight, that would be good. This is good. This is just good right here. J. Bevo Horn, George Strait. I know some people who it's about George Strait and their mother. There's a girl I went to high school with. Shout out to Dana. She and her mom go to George Strait all the time. My wife has a really good friend named Jennifer. And she and her mom, I think, have seen George Strait like 10 times. Like, that's their thing. But the dad and George Strait, that's good. I haven't met a whole lot of people, J. Bevo Horn, that go George Strait with my dad. Again, my dad wouldn't want to go see George Strait. Now, if AC/DC was coming to town, he'd be knocking people over. That's another band. I don't think I've ever seen AC/DC without my dad present. If I do come up with it, I'm not going to tell him that because he will get mad. So definitely check that out. But so here's what I did, because I'm a nerd. I keep track of all my concerts. I keep track of every live show that I've seen. And I have attended 211 concerts. Like, that's not the performances. That's just the event. 211 times I've gone to a concert. But I counted it up. 52 of them have been with my dad. 52. By the way, first ever House Divided. My man Trey Rhodes, one of my best friends from high school and college. Trey Rhodes, if you're out there watching this show at any point, you and I went to 56. You're in the lead. You're still in the lead after all these years. You and I have been to one concert, I think, in the last 15 years together. Shout out to Aerosmith. Rest in peace to that live career that's over. But yeah, you're still in the lead. You're up on Doc Hastings by just a little bit. My wife is trying to close it. She's not even there. My wife is at 48. Dad's at 52. Trey Rhodes at 56. How about that? And then tomorrow night, by the way, will be my 20th concert with my daughter. Yeah, it's not bad. 18 years on the planet. It'll be the 20th time we've been to a concert. Yeah, I kind of like concerts. All right, let's see what else we got. What else did we get? Oh, this is good. You know what? Different folks, different strokes, Binks. We weren't concert people. We were monster truck rally and tractor pulls in the Astrodome. Full pull. Oh, that's good. You know what? That reminds me, Binks. I never saw a concert with my granddad, but my granddad loved a tractor pull. Oh, my God. We would go to out in both sides of my family are from Cisco, as y'all probably know. Y'all see me in Cisco with the crazy background out there. And somewhere near Cisco is a little town called De Leon. Shout out if y'all know where De Leon is. And it was called the Peach and Melon Festival every year. Peach and Melon Festival. We'd go. My granddad would wear a shirt with mother of pearl snaps because he knew that's his fancy. That's why I get those poncho shirts with the mother of pearl snaps. We'd go to the Peach and Melon Festival. My granddad would be reminded that I don't like watermelon at some point, and he'd make fun of me. He would eat lots of watermelon, and so would my grandmother and my brother or whatever. And we would always end up at the rodeo portion of the evening. Why? Not because of bull riding, not because of that, but because at some point my granddad knew there was a chance. He heard there was a tractor pull. And he loved the tractor pull. Pull that tractor on there. You put the big weight on there. All you country folk know what I'm talking about. And that weight starts to slide up. And you're trying to, then the wheels start spinning. There's something incredible about it because my granddad was a farmer and he knew about everything about a tractor and getting it stuck and how much power does it have and everything. He loved a good tractor pull. So Binks, that's good. That's my granddad memory because it wasn't ever a concert with us. But I like that. Tractor pull people. That is good. That is good. I like it. All right. This is interesting. Scott saw Jimmy Buffett's next to last concert with my son. It was great. So much fun. Scott, that is awesome. That is awesome. Just if you can share music with parents, kids, whatever, it's something that always divides parents and kids. Parents are afraid of the kids' music, and the kids won't open their mind to the parents' music. And sometimes they all just go separate ways. But when you can bring it together, it's so cool to watch. And when you can, because it's about you watching them watch it. The other night, I watched my mom watch Simone Biles. That's what made it interesting. If I'd been there by myself, it'd have been cool, but not as cool. Like, Rob Halford's going to sing Hell Bent for Leather and You Got Another Thing Coming. But I'm going to look at my dad and he'll probably be like crying and stuff because we're weird and old and we get emotional over dumb stuff. I'm going to look over at my dad and he'll be like, I don't know, man. Every time they play Helion Electric Eye, I don't know. My eye every time. It just happens that way. And I'll now catch myself getting weirdly emotional at concerts for no reason at all. And it's awesome. So the fact that I get to do concert back to back, one with my dad, one with my daughter, and then got to go see that event with my mom. It's very cool. Very, very cool. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question. Gabe, Chad, what's your favorite small to moderate size music venue of all time? Moderate, Liberty Lunch. Small, so easy. Cactus Cafe. Nothing touches it. My favorite small little venue. It's the first place I ever saw Terry Allen, and it's the first place I ever saw Bruce Robinson. And you can't top those guys in my mind. It's a great room. I took my cafe to see Bruce and to see John Ballman opened up. And my mom dug that show because I wanted to show my mom, like, okay, Mom, every time I go to a concert, it's not like fireworks and devil horns and a sound that will break your skull. Like, this is the type of stuff I dig too. So I wish I could go back in time and go to more shows with my mom. If I could dream up one for my mom and me, it would be let's go back and I'd take her to Aspen or something. And we'd go see John Denver because she's a John Denver freak. That I would love to have seen. That would have been cool. But yeah, that's the small venue answer for me. That's pretty easy. All right. Let's see. What is it? Oh, see, this is Jareth says, Chad, I'm a bastard like Catch. I don't know my dad, LOL, but I'm going to a metal show tomorrow in Cleveland. Good for you, Jareth. Who are you going to go see? Don't just tell me. You can't just tell me you're going to go see a metal show. I need to know who you're going to go see. Please. And by the way, for rock drums, I would love to go. If I'm going to a Halloween party, I'd love to go as Rob Halford. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be the best. All right, let's see. Mark says Scott took the kids to see Buffett twice. They loved it. I've seen Jimmy 21 times. Woo, that's good stuff. Mark, one of my best friends in the world, Sarah, is the biggest parrot head I know, and it's about she and her mom and her sister, who I think have been to. She could tell me it's got to be 8 or 10 at least. They love Jimmy Buffett. She saw Jimmy Buffett at Red Rocks. I'm so jealous that she ever saw a show at Red Rocks. And she's seen tons of people that I love at Red Rocks. So it's great. Somebody else throwing in a little Jimmy Buffett love and saying Jimmy was awesome. Binks, Chad, what's your concert where the opening act was better than the headliner? Interesting. Mine was Saliva opening for Nickelback. Oh my God, I'm going to take a sip and just think about that. That is so fantastic. That's great. I think maybe a lot of people have been to a Nickelback show and thought that. By the way, there's a Nickelback documentary on Netflix. I haven't watched it all, but if you're into such things, might be something to check out. Favorite concert where the opening act was better than the headliner? I know what my dad's answer would be. I guarantee you, if he's watching, I think he's watching, he will think, I know what he's thinking. First concert my dad and I went to, Bon Jovi and Cinderella. It's not that my dad didn't like Bon Jovi. He would tell you that he fell in love with Cinderella that night. And I could make the argument that Cinderella, now look, Bon Jovi put on a hell of a show. That was Slippery When Wet. John Bon Jovi was at his prime. Cinderella was damn good. They were close. That was a close one. Opening act better than the headliner. It's weird. I think I might see one Friday with my daughter because the girl that's opening, I think, is a little bit better than the guy that's closing. I'm gonna see though. I'm gonna withhold. These are young pop stars that I'm not that into, but in listening to, I think she might be a little better than him. I just don't better live than him. Let me. I'm just go through the thought process. I've seen so many good ones. Generally, though, Binks, I've been lucky that when I see a badass opener, it didn't surpass the headliner. You know, like, oh man, I saw them, but then that band hit the stage. I don't recall. I did see Nickelback. I have seen Nickelback live. Could not tell you who opened because I think I got there later. So I don't know about that one. Yeah, and I can't think of one right off the top of my head. I can make an argument that the Journey show I just saw might have been slightly better than the Def Leppard show I just saw, but that's not an opener. They were literally co-headlining. So that's different. You know, it's a little bit of a different vibe there. But I guarantee you my dad is thinking of Cinderella when you asked that question. Got tickets from 101X. Hey, you know, that's Saliva. I think they're better than Nickelback. I'm going to say it tonight. Dude, you're crazy. The thing I'll always remember about the Nickelback show I went to is there was a guy up at the front of the lawn. I did lawn seats because somebody got a Groupon. Shout out to a former co-host of mine named Chip who got that Groupon. My wife and I wanted to go. And I didn't even pay. Like, I think he paid like $20 or $5 or whatever it was. Guy towards the front of the lawn, losing his mind, enjoying this show. And part of me was really happy for him because I thought, God, this is his concert experience. Like, this is his most famous thing. And then there's another part of me that wanted to walk up to him and say, dude, I got like 20 bands you should listen to. Like 20 of them. But it would have cost him a lot of money because then he would have wanted to go to all those shows. But I just thought, if your mind musically was only opened to Nickelback, and then we could open it up to anyway, it was a dream. It was a little dream of mine. I have to admit. All right, let's see if there's anything else before we wrap up. Just concert stories. I like that. Mess around. Best show I saw was my favorite band in high school, Taking Back Sunday. Okay. Mosh pit was crazy. Love a good mosh pit. I got moved around and I'm a big guy. S. Roan, I've been in a mosh pit with my dad. We're not mosh pit people. Keep in mind, we're stand there and enjoy the show, people. But we once saw Living Color and Bad Brains at the Bomb Factory in Dallas, which is maybe the best description of a show I've ever had because it says it all. We ended up in the mosh pit area, not mosh pit, but we ended up kind of, in the up towards the front, kind of in a mosh pit area. And it was, things were getting shoved around a little bit. At one point, I think my dad's glasses got knocked off, not broken. We picked them up. And then we ended up looking down and there's a dude in a wheelchair. He's in the wheelchair in the mosh pit. And we're like, are you okay? Are you all right? And he was, I'm fine. I'm great. It's the best night. But then my dad and I realized, like, we probably shouldn't get pinned next to him because things could get weird. So we ended up making our way over towards the side. But yes, I bet mosh pits are great. Just be careful in those mosh pits. That's probably good. Oh my God. You weren't at this show, were you? Come on, John. Let's go legendary DFW shows. Now I'm glad I brought up concerts. I saw Metallica at the 88 Texas Jam go on third out of 5 bands. Van Halen, Scorpions, Dokken, and Kingdom Come at the Cotton Bowl. Oh, my God. Kingdom Come. The greatest Led Zeppelin Led Zeppelin, like not cover band, the greatest Led Zeppelin sound-alike band ever. I'll say even better than Greta Van Fleet. Greta Van Fleet freaks me out. Go listen to the first Kingdom Come album and tell me. What was that first track? Wait for You, right? Wasn't that them? Was it Wait for You? I may be mixing it up with something else. Yeah. That's a great show, though. A famous one. I think isn't that Van Halen with Sammy? That's after the transition, right? That's one of those first big shows they did. That was good. Mark with a super chat. See, now we're doing super chat concert stories. I like it. Best show was Paige Plant, 95 at Irwin Center. Closest I'll ever get to seeing Zeppelin. Been to about 200 shows, rock, metal, country. There you go, Mark. I never saw the Paige Plant. In fact, I've never seen either one of those guys on stage. Certainly never saw Zeppelin. Couldn't have seen Zeppelin technically. I mean, I guess I could have, but I was 6 when Bonham died, something like that. But that's awesome. Yeah, the Paige Plant stuff to see that would be good. Let's see. C. Jones, Chad, who would be the opening and closing acts in your own custom concert? Opening and closing. Okay. Well, if you say it that way, C. Jones, I'm going to make it an all-day festival where I get to put all kinds of folks in the middle. But my gut would be Motorhead opens and the Stones close. Put whatever else you want in the middle. We're starting with Lemmy. We're finishing with Mick. The meat of the sandwich, it matters, but it almost doesn't matter if I can have that. If I can have that, let's go. Let's do it. And Lemmy hangs around to come back up on stage, and he and Mick sing Faraway Eyes. Yeah, that's what. All right, now I'm going to get emotional. Whoo! Oh, my God. I'd never even thought of that possibility. But that'd be the greatest. Be the greatest. Oh, my God. Preacher said, you always have the Lord by your side. Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you for that question, because I never even thought of Lemmy singing Faraway Eyes. But now it's a dream of mine. We need to figure out how to make that happen with all the heavens. Scott says, I always wanted to see the Beatles and Elvis, although not necessarily together. Yeah. I don't know that anyone could have secured together. I don't know if we ever. Let's go Shea Stadium. What is it, 66? Yeah, let's do that. Can we go Shea, like Elvis and the Beatles? We're just going to do a co-headline. That good? We can secure all it won't be that many kids show up, right? We'll be fine. Print the tickets. Let's go. That would be something. That would be the best. Never saw Elvis. It was impossible for me to see the Beatles. Same kind of thing. The same year that Bonham died would have been the year Lennon died, of course. My dad and I saw Paul McCartney. That's as close as I got to the Beatles. And we have seen the Stones, and we have seen the Who. Those are my dad's 3 big ones. So had to make sure to do that. John reminds me, yes, Hagar just started singing for Van Halen. His voice was bad. He had throat issues. John, I've always heard good things about that show in terms of like he had to prove himself to a lot of people. Some David Lee Roth fans showed up pissed off, but it ended up being a fairly good show. I'd never heard about the voice problem. So there you go. Interesting. There you Binks. Chad Fest features Motorhead, Nickelback, and the Stones. No. Take the no. Chad Kroger can come to the show, but Nickelback does not hit that stage. Ever. We're going to start with Motorhead. Throughout the day, you're going to see a lot of crazy acts. You're going to see Bruce Robinson, and you're going to see Terry Allen and the Panhandle Mystery Band. We're going to get the Flatlanders back together. Robert Earl's going to play. We're going to have AC/DC. We're going to have Ozzy in his prime. There's going to be a lot going on. Chad Kroger's going to have to take pictures. If at the end of that night he says, look at this photograph, it'll be one he took of Ozzy standing next to me. He does not get to go up on that stage at Chad Fest. It does not happen. Does not happen. I like this one. Pink Floyd, 94, Rice Stadium, best show ever. Greg, God love you. I was never a Pink Floyd guy, but I don't know anybody that loves Pink Floyd that doesn't have one of those stories. They'll remember it forever. The visuals, the experience of it, just one of the coolest. Like, even though it's not my favorite band live that I've ever seen, never gotten to see Pink Floyd. And it's just not quite my channel. But God, I love that they exist. And I love that people go out there and lose their mind for Pink Floyd shows and the laser light shows and all that kind of stuff. Oh, here we go. Mark, different. You can tell Mark's era is a slightly bit different from mine, but that's cool. Mark says mine would be STP, Alice in Chains, Black Label Society, and Metallica headlining. That's a good show, Mark, especially if I'm getting prime of everybody. If I'm getting the prime dogs of all of it, I get to see Scott Weiland, one of the best front men ever, with that first punch of STP. I get Lane and Alice in Chains. I saw Lane after he broke his leg, opening for Ozzy. Should have been Motorhead too, but Lemmy had hurt himself that night and couldn't play. Saw Alice in Chains. They'd hit big. Rooster was out, the whole thing. And Lane broke his leg doing something. So he literally had to sit and sing the song Angry Chair in a chair. It was wonderfully poetic. I felt bad for him, but it was great. He sounded incredible. And of course, with Black Label, you get Zach and that crew. There's very few things in this world cooler than Zach while playing a guitar. And Metallica is Metallica. So there you go, Mark. That's good stuff. I like it. All right. Let's see. I think that may be it. Let's see. Oh, this is it's a weird reference out of nowhere. C. Jones, don't forget DMX. He puts on a great show. Hey, we get throw DMX in there. I would definitely have to throw some rap stuff in there. I've been lucky enough to see Jay-Z, but I haven't seen some of the other greats. I'd want Eminem to be a part of the show. Lemmy would also join Eminem on stage, in case I didn't mention that. Lemmy would join everyone on stage if I hadn't mentioned that at Chad Fest. He would join each and every artist because Lemmy was an incredible interpreter of other people's music, and you would completely change the way that you would think about Lemmy, because he would do Lose Yourself with Eminem, and it would just change your life. It would. That would be excellent. Jefferson says, I need Catch on stage doing his best Rocket Man performance. That would be cool. I didn't know he had one, but if he does have one, that would be very cool. Never saw Elton John either. Never seen Elton John through the years, throughout the years. Somebody says they're only, okay, Mark, just 2.5 years older than me. Thank you, Mark, for letting me know that. Yeah, you weren't that far. It's not that different, I guess. That's a good point. Okay, let's see. We'll get a couple more here. Scott, my son's first was Van Halen with his mom at his first concert. They got there early. He was so excited to see Eddie until he shot him the finger. I told my son that was a classic EVH move, an honor. Yeah, it's true. There's certain acts where just because the rules don't apply. Rules don't apply. It's like I'm a wrestling guy. Wrestling fans will tell you, when you go see Stone Cold Steve Austin and he gives you the double bird, it doesn't mean he doesn't like you. It means he's acknowledging you. He's acknowledging your existence. That's what Eddie was doing. Yeah, don't take that as an insult. Eddie was just loving on you. Oh, my God. Old Lubbock. Back to Old Lubbock, Longhorn in grad school. It's a good name. Public Enemy, by far the best hip-hop show I've been lucky enough to see. Ooh, I would love to have seen PE back in the day. Saw Chuck D on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame deal the other night, inducting Kool and the Gang. That was cool. That would be cool. Uncle Mickey, Lemmy would probably kick Eminem's ass, but that's not what it would be about. This would just be about the performance. That'd be what it was. And I'd let Lemmy pick the song, by the way. Lemmy's very much into all kinds of different music. I would love to let Lemmy know he's going on stage with everybody, and he has to pick the song that he goes on stage with. And even if they weren't planning to sing it, they'd have to sing it because it's Lemmy. Like, that would be excellent. So you'd tell Eminem, like, hey, dude, he wants to play it. Hey, I'm Eminem. He didn't pick one of my songs. Look, if Lemmy wants to do Parents Just Don't Understand by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince with you, you have to do it. He's Lemmy. This is what's going to happen. It'd be great. I would actually like to, yeah, that would be really good. All right. I think that might be it. We'll get one more favorite concert story in. Back when San Antonio had the Verizon Amphitheater. I love that venue. Aerosmith, opener was Fuel. Fuel was awesome, and Tyler was better than expected. Barb's 10. I have seen Aerosmith at that venue. I dug that place. I was there when I think it was one of the very first shows was Tom Petty, who was awesome there. Aerosmith was great there. I've seen Def Leppard there. I've seen Poison there. My dad and I saw Priest there. One of the times we saw Priest on the Rob on the Way Back stuff. Angel of Retribution, I believe is the album title. We saw them at Verizon. I like that place. I'm sad that it was Sad there. All right, text guy 2. Chad knocking him out today. Way to go. Who needs it? Well, let's not do that. We're not doing that. No. We're not doing that. Catch is taking care of business today, being the boss. I appreciate the compliment that the solo show is going well for you. I appreciate it. Scott, 199 super chat, just because. Chatter love. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Thank you to damn near 600 of you in the Specs chat. Thanks to Specs for the great partnership. Let's see. Where are we going here? We'll do one more. No, that was the Verizon. South End Zone Queen. I do love you, SEQ. You need to come out to one of the watch parties if you're not going to Nashville this week. Come see us. I love that Chad gets to talk for an hour and 45 minutes on Wednesday. It's like he saves his words up all week. I don't know if that's it. I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but yeah, you know what, Mark Ketch might be watching soccer. Liverpool's playing, but I guarantee you he's been doing all kinds of work as well. He is definitely multitasking. He is the best multitasker I think I have ever seen. All right, let me throw one more weird stat at you, and then we'll be done, because I made the case for why you might want to lean towards the A&M side of things this weekend. Texas fans, do with it what you will. Here's another wild stat to how nice the SEC, it's not nice maybe, but how weird this SEC scheduling has been to you as a Longhorn fan. This is your first true road game of the season in conference. First true road SEC game that you will ever play. At the moment the game kicks off, Missouri, Arkansas, and OU will have each played one already. South Carolina will have played 3, and the rest of the conference will have played 2 true conference road games. So what does that tell us? It tells you, this is what you got to learn as a Texas fan. I had to learn this as an A&M fan. The SEC does some weird scheduling, but sometimes it's because they have to. Sometimes there's things to consider. They have teams, Georgia, Florida, and there's another one I'm not thinking about. Georgia, Florida, and who's the other one? Oh, South Carolina. They have 3 teams that play rival games late against non-conference teams. So they have to figure out the schedule because of that. So you'll always see those teams, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, end up with early conference games because you've got to balance that stuff out. So Texas will just kind of end up in the wake of that because they've got to move it around. So for Texas this year, it ends up where they don't even get into the tough road stuff till later. We looked at this so long. We've seen it when the schedule came out. This weekend starts to give us the indicator because Texas fans, you know what's coming. Whatever Nashville is going to be, God love them. They'll be fine, I'm sure. But it ain't anything like the 2 shows that follow. So this will give us a little indicator into what those other 2 true road games will look like. Fayetteville and College Station. Madhouse with broken glass. Madhouse with little brother. It's going to be insane for both. So we'll see how Texas kind of responds with all of that. All right. I think that will just about wrap us up. Started with some recruiting stuff. Again, remember, Kelshawn Johnson still kind of considering Texas. Happy with the A&M commitment. I would argue that I don't know. I hope, I'll say it, I hope from this side of the house divided, I hope we don't see anything out of A&M football that would make Kelshawn Johnson reconsider. But if you're a Longhorn fan, that might be your best reason to root for LSU to win and win big, is maybe it messes with a guy like Kelshawn Johnson and makes him reconsider. And then Mbachu opening things up earlier in the week, that's big. Texas really getting a chance to possibly take advantage of what's going wrong at Florida State, wrong at Florida, and maybe get some guys flipping. So keep your eyes on all of that. Football with Friends comes up at 6 o'clock tonight. We've got an Outsiders tonight at 8:30. I told you I think I'm picking Navy. I'll get a couple other picks in there. Somehow I'm leading the picks, which tells you how crazy it is. Remember, if you get in on the Outsiders and we pick you and you're our guest picker of the week, if you go 3-0, you get a poncho shirt for free. Your choice of any poncho shirt for free if you go 3-0 in the pick. So jump on in tonight at 8:30. We'll be talking about the fans, what happens now that Steve Sarkisian played Arch Manning. How are the fans going to react to all this? Some of the stuff we got into today, we'll expand on it even more and get into that tonight with the Outsiders. Plus, we'll make our pick on Texas and Vandy. I think I'm picking the Longhorns, but I don't quite think I'm picking a cover. We will see what I end up doing tonight on that. Old Fashions tomorrow at 9 a.m. and then come back for the Prize Pick show tomorrow at 10. Thursdays at 10 is Prize Picks. The guys always put their heads together and try to figure out what the best moves are to make in Prize Picks. The stuff they put together for Georgia and Texas, I love the idea. I put it together too. Did not come through. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. All right. See the last of the super chats. Thank you guys so much for jumping in and throwing in the super chats. Also, just real quick, I didn't mention it earlier, but I forgot the cherry on top of the whole concert thing. And my dad, 52 concerts with my dad. If I had to pick my favorite, it's hard to do. The next one's probably my favorite, right? Because we're going to get to do it again. But one of the performances that I count as the live performance is when my dad and I sat at Carnegie Hall and watched my mom sing. That's freaking cool. That's freaking cool. My mom with the choir doing a full performance at Carnegie Hall in 2019. That's got to be my favorite concert with my dad. And there was not a mosh pit. My mom did not jump in a mosh pit that night. She sang her ass off, though. She sang her ass off at Carnegie Hall. That was cool. So that's probably my favorite concert with my dad. All right. We'll be back tomorrow for a Thursday show. Thursday show means Brian Jones of CBS. CBS has that Illinois game, right? Yeah. Illinois at Oregon. Big Ten, the way it was meant to be played. It's an interesting one. Illinois is getting no respect going out there to Eugene. We'll ask Brian about that game and what did he think of Georgia and Texas? Oh, you're not going to want to miss it because nobody gets honest on Texas when they need it more than Brian Jones. What did he think of the quarterback move? Would he go to Arch? What did he think about, what does he think about Quinn? What needs to happen? And then we'll get him to brag on that defense, but maybe something he saw that we all missed, that maybe he's criticizing the defense. Who knows? Tomorrow about 1:20, that's usually when we do Brian Jones. So please be with us for that. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for getting those notifications. Like the show on the way out. If you did not like the show on the way in, if you would, we do appreciate it because it does help us out. Thank you for getting us to over 22,000 subscribers. We are on our way to 23,000, on our way to 8 billion ultimately. And don't forget, the TCH Social Austin is where we will be once again. This time for Texas and Vanderbilt, $1 draft, $2 jellyfish, and the specials start an hour before kick at 2:15. To that chatter, I will double check on the whole UFC thing because there'll be all kinds of stuff going on. They are doing an afternoon version, and I think my man Max Holloway is fighting. Gotta want to see that. So I'll check with them and let y'all know as the week develops. Y'all have a good rest of your Wednesday. Stay safe out there is what I'm trying to say. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Thursday show. We are House Divided. Today, I am House Divided, but catch